Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind spouse. Her bomb drop is March of 2020, date of marriage is 2013. She has a clinging boomerang who's a high energy replayer. So there are two questions, and one of them I want you to know I'm going to answer later. She says that I think you missed this question in a previous question, and I don't think I did. I think I went over it, but she's basically asking for more psychological information on clinging boomerangs and if they're more pathological. And what I think I'm going to do with that question then is package it into a longer answer that's more in-depth, specific, rather than saying, about her question. I'll just do a little bit more about clinging boomerangs, because I know clinging boomerangs are a big concern for people. It's very hard because I sometimes get questions about vanishers and off and ons, and we don't have as much information. And the reason we don't is because they're not around as much. But the information about clinging boomerangs, well, they just dump it on us, which is why we probably have more. Also, I had a clinging boomerang, and I based the prototype clinging boomerang on him when I described it. So I know a lot about clinging boomerangs. So let's go to her other question. She says, I'm spending the summer overseas with the kids. Okay, that answers some of my questions, is overseas, so far enough away. We have a house here and spent a year here after bomb drop, so it's safe. It's a familiar place with family and friends around. I feel so much better being away from my replay ex-husband who wants to cake eat, and when I say no, he uses the kids to make me break the no contact. Here, I don't have to worry about the kids. My thoughts aren't on him and his alienator. My attorney advised that I stay. I won't be able to do this after he files for joint custody. So far, that wasn't done, but was always used as a threat. So he hasn't filed yet, but he uses it as a threat. Okay. The kids already said that they'd rather stay here. And I'm assuming you mean just for the summer. They probably sense how much more relaxed I am. How do I break the news to him? Now, I'm going to assume that you mean for the summer. If you don't, you can update me, because that would be a much bigger deal. I don't want to fight. I know he'll miss the children, but the way he is now, they're better off without him close. I know he'll wake up. I can see the signs. He's desperately trying to get the alienator to sign a post-nup, but it won't be before she gets the papers, and the mask will fall off, and he'll wake up to what he has done. So he is going to wake up. I don't want you to put that on any timeline. It can go back and forth so much, okay? You advise him how do you tell him? You just have to do it. And don't do it by text. Don't do it by email. Don't even do it by voicemail unless you never get an answer. You've got to do this in person or face-to-face or voice-to-voice. Face-to-face would be Zoom, that sort of thing. I would recommend voice-to-voice. It'd just be easier. You be respectful of him. Now, I know he's not being respectful of you. We need to be respectful of all people. One of the things I did with Chuck in the beginning was I said, you know what? When you break up with her, this was the first breakup. You need to be respectful of her by doing it in person. You don't just, we didn't have the term ghosting, or we didn't know it back then, but you don't just sneak away, because that's what he wanted to do. And that's what he did after that. Be a man, and you go up to her and you tell her you are leaving. And then I can only assume, but from what happened after this, I'm pretty sure he did. He went to her work. She worked until like midnight or something that night. And she worked at a hospital, so he could go there. And he told her, and it was about 7 o'clock at night, and he came back. And one of the things I know, she knew that it was me that made him do that. Because I said, if you mistreat one woman, you mistreat all women. Just because somebody mistreats you doesn't give you the right to mistreat them. We're going to be grace. We're going to be the light. We're going to be the example. So I'm not saying that you're not doing this, but what I'm saying is be respectful of him by saying it to him directly. And yes, it's not an expectation, and it is prepare that he's going to be upset and monster. All you do is you give the information. You can say, you know what, my attorney also felt this was what's best for us. Now, here's what I would say if I were on his side of this. And by side, I mean if I were in the crazy head, a crazy person. Well, but the attorney's not the doctor or therapist. They don't know anything for what's good for the kids. They just know the legal side of it. Now that is something. But you are doing this. I'm staying here because it's better for us. I'm also staying here under the advice of my attorney where he feels we're safer. And if he says something, you don't have to respond. You can just give him the information and say, I don't have time to talk about this. We can, if you need to discuss it, it's not open for discussion, but you can certainly contact me. You can email me, you can text me. And if I feel a need to respond, I will. If I don't, you won't hear from me. But here's where we are. We are safe. And it's safer emotionally for us because we're off the crazy train that you have been driving. He's been driving it, remember? Well, maybe the alienator's helping. No. But they are going to get some healing time, and it's good for them. Then, here, this one's important, though. Let him know he can set up Zoom meetings with them. I like the idea of not just having phone meetings. I had a dad that was very involved. And by very involved, he called himself the weekend warrior. He drove on the weekends hours to get me, then hours back to get my brother, because he was half brother. And he was in the car, and we were in the car with him for hours. But he did that, and then we spent weekends with him. And as I got older, it wasn't always every weekend because I had activities. I didn't have the option of Zoom. My dad told me, you can call me Collect. And he taught me how to call Collect because he had more money than my mom, and he didn't mind that I was calling Collect. He taught me that. And because he was always the one to call me, but I talked to him throughout the week on the phone. And that was a big deal, talking to Daddy. And my dad, I might say my dad to you, he has always been Daddy. I never called him Dad. Always Daddy. We always had a very close, special relationship. And that the contact was very important. And my mom encouraged it. So I would have loved to have been able to Zoom or do some sort of face thing with my dad. So if they can, set it up, but make it by appointment. I didn't always have an appointment with my dad on the phone, but it was a phone. And it was just in the night before I went to bed. I remember standing at the wall phone talking to Daddy, and it was special. So set up an appointment time where they say, you know what, how about every Wednesday? Or you could do every Monday and Wednesday, or however many days they can handle, he can handle, and that he keeps up with. Say, but you need to keep up with this. It's important that they see that you're consistent. And when I'm telling you this to him, that he is consistent, that if he's going to miss an appointment, he misses it by letting people know ahead of time. Because he's going to start being pulled away by her. And if he has to canceling, there's nothing wrong with canceling. Sometimes stuff really does come up. But you don't want them to be stood up by sitting at their Zoom and nothing happens. So if you can, set up some sort of a Zoom. Say for a half an hour, however many times a week you feel is appropriate. It could be once. Sometimes I didn't talk to my dad for, 2 weeks, but sometimes I talked to him multiple times in a week because I just called Daddy. Once I was allowed to call him, I just pick up the phone and call Daddy. And it was wonderful and exciting. So I think that could be a very important thing for them. It's not as big a deal as you're thinking about how to tell him. I know you're nervous. You just tell him. Just say, you know what? We're here. We're here for the summer. The kids they feel a lot calmer now that they are out for school and they're away. There's some of the drama is gone. And I'm sorry, honey, but the drama was created mostly by you and by being around you. And all of you're available or you're not available, and the conflict. And they miss you. They really do. So I would like it if you can call them regularly, or we can set up a Zoom. I think a Zoom would be fabulous. This is what you're going to tell him. So I want you to be encouraging. But we're here. And we're here. I'm sorry that you don't like it, and I know you're going to miss them. So let's find a way that you can still stay in contact with them. He might throw out all his threats, and you just say, I'm sorry you feel that way. You're going to have to do what you need to do. You don't let him bully you into stopping what you're doing in the protection for the children because, well, I'm going to fight for joint custody. Unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, probably fortunately in most situations, that's how it is. That's the law of the land in many places. Most people have joint custody these days, or a lot of them do. And sometimes that means they really do share 50-50. And sometimes it means that it was like it was when I was, but joint custody meant both are legal, full custodial parents, but the kids really live with this one. And the one they live with more might get more the child support. So you're going to have a joint custody world later on, whether he threatens or not, maybe. Okay, so I don't want you to go worrying about his threats. You have to face them. You can do this, okay? It's for your kids. And yeah, his mask is going to fall off, but we'll take that when we get there, okay? So I hope this was helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question.